Hello guys, and welcome back to another Retro Refurb. Today we have CocoBerry, and she was in pretty bad shape. So, she actually is not dirty, quote unquote. These are all stains that she has on her. Her hair is completely faded, should be pink. Her cutie mark is not doing so hot either. So I actually am going to begin by pulling back her hair, and then I'm going to actually start with a bleach instead of a wash first, because all of this is just staining. And I use this 40 volume developer. So I just use an old paintbrush, and I really slather it onto all the places that are clearly stained. I don't know what this is from. I bought this off of eBay or something like that, and I don't know the history of it. I just know that it was covered in something that was staining it. So to intensify the bleach, I pulled out the plastic wrap and I wrapped her up like a mummy. Then I put her down into my UV chamber. I actually have this nifty little turntable in there that is solar powered. And she came out looking like this. I actually went back and I bleached her again later, but here's where I took off her head. I started by making it warm with a hairdryer, and then getting out the trusty X-Acto knife. Now you have to be careful with these. And I don't really cut. I more place it and pull. Place it and pull. So that you're not cutting through the vinyl, which I have done before, I will admit. Live and learn. This could be a long and tedious process. This was sped up 4 times, so it took a lot longer than it seems. Just had to be careful. Oh, and when I opened it, I don't know what that was inside, but as you can see, it's not pretty. Ugh. And it wasn't just inside her head either, it was inside her whole body. So I got out the Dawn and the good old hot water, started scrubbing her. Nothing on the outside came off, but that inside was full of gunk. It's like, I don't know, something had been living inside her. The crazy thing is when I finally opened up the head, it was wet on the inside. And remember, I had not washed her yet. I had not put her in water, but she was wet on the inside. Crazily enough, she did not smell. So during this time, I did also go ahead and yank out her tail. You can see how rusty that clip was. But of course it was. There was water inside of her. She was wet. Sorry about that. So of course I had to remove this rusty washer and rusty clip. So I've got this down to kind of a process. You gotta make sure that you have all the hair that goes on each side separated, or else you will lose hair strands when you do this. And And then I take 2 pairs of pliers, one short and blunt to just hold it in place, and a second pair of pliers that I can manipulate it open. This is still a little bit wet and slippery, so it kind of slipped a little bit, but it really was not a tough process. It came right out. And so I got some clean water and took the tail to just some hot water so I could just scratch off some of that rust. That rust is sitting on top of that nylon fiber of the hair. So I just scratch it off of there. A lot of it does come off. Most of it's not really too stained. And surprisingly enough, if you look right in the center, you can still see the pink that used to be there. Just a little bit. So then I do get a zip tie, and I make sure I zip tie those hairs together so I don't lose any. And that will be replacing that clip that was rusted. Zip ties don't rust. So I got on the OxyClean because OxyClean is good for taking out any kind of mold or anything like that, and who knows what was growing in there. So I filled a container with hot water, OxyClean, kind of stirred it up with the tail. I'm going to throw her entire body in there, head, tail, everything, and I'm going to close it up for like 24 hours just to let that OxyClean do its magic. And as you can see, it came out pretty nice. So now we have to replace the pink of her tail and mane. So this particular color is known, I guess, as fading pink because it's not just this particular pony that has this issue. I have a baby cotton candy, the same thing. She's supposed to have pink hair. It's like white. So if you have a white tailed or white maned pony, it might be because it should be pink. So I actually got the Rit dye, that's the powdered Rit dye, and in the shade Petal Pink. Added to some hot water. This is just out of the tap. My tap water is extremely hot. You might want to boil some water to get it nice and hot. I put a cap full of just distilled white vinegar in there because that's supposed to kind of boost it. Unfortunately, my camera angle's not great on this, but you can see I'm just dipping the tail. I dip it a few times, and it's going to immediately take on some of that pink. Change the color. Now the more times you dip, the more intense it'll get. I didn't know exactly how intense I wanted it. I know when it's wet, it's gonna look darker. I mean, hair always does. Wet hair looks darker. I put her mane in there. And the mane's just attached to her head. I used a toothbrush to kind of get to the roots there. I'm not worrying too much about transfer. I know when you dye ponies, you can dye them in Rit dye. I'm not sure if it's the same formula of Rit dye, because there's different ones. But I think that takes a long time, and honestly, repinking the hair or dyeing the hair is pretty immediate. So now I'm just going to give her a nice blowout and a nice comb out. I do make sure that I don't pull too hard when I am combing her out, because that can just cause those nylon fibers to bounce back and kind of get caked up sometimes, so you don't want to pull too hard. But anytime you can kind of get through the entire length of the mane or the tail and not have a kink, you know you're in a good spot. So next up, I needed to freshen up those cutie marks, so I did have to do some color matching. I did mix up some paint so it was kind of the right color, which was a tough part. And I decided to do the pink first because I knew I had to paint on the yellow sprinkles on top. And so if I went over on the sprinkles with the paint, it wasn't a big deal. Out of frame, guys. But that detail does take a lot of concentration. So I just put her hair into some nice sponge rollers, sprayed it with water, left her like that overnight, and voila, our final product, our wonderful CocoBerry. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and most of all, make sure that you are having fun. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.